All right. Welcome to Jumpstart 2021. Jumpstart is a meeting that Lauren, my friend here, and I kind of came up with the idea for, I don't know, a year or two ago, maybe a little while ago, but a meeting for people who are newly diagnosed with Parkinson's to find out what the resources are and the things that can be helpful, especially as you're kind of getting started with this new diagnosis and navigating all the information that is out there, or sometimes the lack of information. My name is Claire McLean. I'm a physical therapist and I specialize working with people who have Parkinson's. And I'm really passionate about this because I see how much better people can get, how they can really thrive while living with Parkinson's. And I want to make sure that every person, as soon as possible after being diagnosed, gets information and helps to help them along their journey and get started with exercise and the other things that can be so helpful. So that's why kind of this Jumpstart meeting has come to be. We initially, when we planned this, the goal was for this to be an in-person meeting here in Orange County, California, where we live. And we wanted to have all kind of the resources in the community attend the meeting and invite people with Parkinson's so they could see and hear what was available. And then with COVID, this meeting shifted to an online meeting, which means that hopefully we're still able to connect with a lot of people in our area and make them aware of resources in the community. But it also means that we may be reaching people who don't live in our area, live elsewhere. The good news is a lot of the resources that we'll be discussing, although the individuals and the specific programs may be specific to Orange County, there's lots of the same types of resources hopefully available in your county, and they're also in your area. And there also are a lot of resources online now, which is really helpful as well, even more than there were before. So if you do happen to live elsewhere in a more rural area or a place where there aren't a lot of resources close by, there are things online that can be helpful as well. So the live meeting will be happening on Zoom on Saturday, April 17th, from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. Pacific time. So we're really hoping that lots of people join us live that day. We're going to have great presenters and information and exercise demos and opportunity to ask questions. When we did this last time in December, we got great feedback about how motivating it was. And someone who attended said that, prior to that, she was feeling pretty depressed about the diagnosis of Parkinson's. And now she was so excited about all the things that she could do to feel better. So that's exactly our goal with this meeting. And what we realized last time is we did have a lot of content and we honestly couldn't really fit everything in that we wanted to go through. And we want this meeting to, be full of information, but also not at a hyper speed. We want to kind of have a more relaxed and enjoyable pace. And so we realized for this meeting, it would be helpful if we recorded maybe a couple of the videos ahead of time to share some of the resources and information so that everybody would kind of be ready to jump in with the live presenters and topics on the live meeting on the 17th. So that is why we're doing this meeting. And I think I pretty much introduced myself. I have a wellness program for people with Parkinson's called Rogue Physical Therapy and Wellness. So I spend most days with people with Parkinson's, exercising and learning and all growing together. And so I'm excited to be a part of this. And Lauren, if you would like to introduce yourself so everybody knows kind of why you are involved.
My name is Lauren Simmons, and I'm in Orange County, California. And I was diagnosed with Parkinson's about 4.5 years ago. And it was a really tough, devastating diagnosis. And part of the reason for that is because I didn't know what was available to me. I am healthier now than I was at my time of diagnosis, but I had no clue that that was possible. So I don't want that to happen to anyone else. I want people who are diagnosed to get the resources that are available to them. So that's why I came up with pdbuzz.com, which is a website where we have local resources, some of the national resources, the things that you need to get started in living well with Parkinson's. So we're going to share some of our favorite resources with you.
Yes. So the first one we're going to share is this book, the new Parkinson's disease treatment book by Dr. Ahlskog. We'll put a link to these, the resources that we're talking about right below this video and also in the email that we send out to everyone. So this book, Dr. Ahlskog is a movement disorders neurologist at the Mayo Clinic in Minnesota. He is extremely experienced. He has been a neurologist for decades, specializing in working with people with Parkinson's. And I'm a huge fan of his. For one, he has written numerous papers and focuses in this book on the benefits of exercise and really says that the research is just so compelling that this needs to be one of the main treatments for people with Parkinson's to really be their healthiest and do their best. And then this book has a lot of information about kind of the process of diagnosis and the kinds of things that we wish every neurologist had time to talk to all of their patients about. But the truth is, just the way the medical system is set up, there's not enough time in every visit for you to get all the background and explanation and education that would be really helpful. And then when you go online, there are some great resources online, but there's also a lot of random stuff. It's hard to weed through and know what's the right information, what's true. And Dr. Ahlskog comes from just this really kind of practical but positive standpoint, talking about how well people can do, and information about the process of diagnosis and getting started on medications and really how to optimize medication. I love his approach for that. I think he keeps things a little bit simpler than otherwise you might experience with medications, and really explains when you should start medication and how to know if you're on the right kinds of medication and the right amount, which these are all, especially for people who are newly diagnosed. We know that's one of the biggest topics is when to start medication. Do I need it? Do I not need it? What is it for? How long will it keep working? What are the potential side effects? And he just goes through all that information in such a wonderful way that I think is very, it's just super educational, and hopefully will calm some fears, but just really empower you to kind of take the lead in your healthcare. It's very important to have a good neurologist, and we're excited in the meeting, the live meeting. We have Dr. Mindy Bixby, who's a movement disorder specialist. She will be coming on to talk about kind of the neurologist's approach to diagnosis and treatment, and she'll answer questions. She is wonderful. So it's extremely important to have a neurologist that you work with, and ideally a movement disorder specialist. But even if you have the most amazing neurologists in the world, they likely do not have enough time to explain everything to you that really you would benefit from learning about. And this book, I think, is one of the best resources for all of that. And it's so that you can learn and really work well with your neurologist, advocate for yourself, understand what is working, what isn't working, and work really closely with your neurologist. So it is not instead of, but it's so that you can get the best care. And when I recommend and people read this book, they love it. So I highly recommend ordering this from Amazon. I'll put the link underneath this video, and I think you will really be happy that you did. What I tell people is this is not a book to read the whole book. I don't recommend that you start and try to read through the whole thing. You go to the chapters that are the most relevant and helpful. So it might be around getting diagnosed or starting medications. There are other topics that may be relevant for you later at some point in time, but don't, overwhelm yourself by thinking you're supposed to read this whole book. It's really, take it piece by piece, the parts that are really helpful and relevant for you now.
Totally agree, Claire. I have mine, and you can see it's well marked up. I look at it all the time. What I really like about it is Dr. Ahlskog puts it in terms that I can understand. And I'm a firm believer in an educated patient is an empowered patient. And like you said, I think people really need to be their own advocate. So that's a definite go-to for me. One of my favorite resources is the Davis-Finney Every Victory Counts manual. The Davis-Finney Foundation has a lot of good information online. Davis-Finney was an Olympic cyclist who was diagnosed with Parkinson's very early on. This manual has just tons of information. It's got inspiring stories from people with Parkinson's. It's got information about medications, alternative treatments, about caregivers. It's got a great glossary in the back because there's a lot of terms you're going to come across that are going to be new to you. So that's really, really helpful. It's got worksheets in the back that you can fill out and take into your doctor's appointments. So it's got a lot of good stuff in it. You can order it from the Davis-Finney Foundation. They have an audio book. You can get it on a podcast, or you can order the hard copy. You can download it also, or order the hard copy at the Davis-Finney Foundation. And we'll put that link for you in the notes.
Yeah, that manual is such a great resource. And there are all these, like in the manual in particular, there are great, stories of people living with Parkinson's and their successes and the things that they've done. So it's really, there's a lot of inspiration in that manual, as well as like really good concrete information. So that is a great resource. And then next resource we're going to share. So this meeting is supported in part by the Parkinsons Foundation, which is one of the national organizations in this country. And they do some really wonderful work. They have great information on their website on all different topics. And they do some really cool things like fund community grants, which we as an organization received a community grant from them that supported special exercise programs. So I really am a huge fan of theirs overall. And one resource they have is a folder that is some information specifically for people who are newly diagnosed. So we have a stack of these that we've received. And when we have new people come in for exercise, if they were diagnosed within the past few years, this is one of the resources that we give to them. And, you know, what people say is like, why didn't I get something like this when I was at my doctor's office? And I'm like, I don't know. It's very helpful in knowing, you know, what are the resources out there. Their website is full of good information. Dr. I think it's Okun is how he pronounces his name. I always say Okun, but I think it's Okun. He's another neurologist that I'm a huge fan of. Any blogs that he's written, the books that he's written are really great resources as well. And in addition to this folder with some information for people newly diagnosed, they also have what I still think are called their rainbow books. So you can see the backs are different colors. And they have books on all different topics, which also can be ordered, can be downloaded as electronic copies, ebooks, and then can also be ordered. We have a number of these on site. If you have a place that you go for exercise that has classes, they likely would be able to order and get, you know, a number of copies to be able to hand out for people or give as resources. So on different topics like managing Parkinson's mid-stride and sleep, which sleep is so important for our health. And it's an area that I think a lot of people say, you know, I'm not getting good sleep, but oh, well, like I'm just going to try to power through it. But I would highly encourage you. Sleep is one of the areas that I'd really say you want to try to optimize, because not only does it affect how you feel on a daily basis, it really probably affects the progression of Parkinson's over time. So sleep is super important. And with sleep, like there are some medications that can help and there's some medications that might not help. And there's a lot of other things that you can do to improve your sleep. So these books are great. You can see there's all different topics, frequently asked questions, again, so that, you know, after leaving your doctor's office with a diagnosis of Parkinson's and maybe a prescription for medication, you know that there are other resources out there to really help you get started in the right way and help, you know, calm any fears that you might have and really see all the resources and treatments and things that are available for you. So I'm a big fan of these books as well.
Another resource that the Parkinson's Foundation gives out is this Aware and Care Kit, and it's a hospital kit that you can keep your medications in and you can bring it to the hospital. And you might think you're not going to use it, but I'm telling you, I used mine for hospitalization. It helped me so much. The hospitalization had nothing to do with Parkinson's. It was a knee surgery, but I was handing out the pieces of paper to the nurses that talk about the different medications that I can have and that I can't have. It's got a medical alert bracelet in it. It's got a wallet card that identifies you as a Parkinson's patient. It's got a little reminder that you can put up in your room that says you need your medication on time every time. So it's just a lot of really good information. You keep your meds in there, and if you do have to go to the hospital, you can just grab it on the way out the door and bring it with you. It's got a lot of good stuff in it, and you can get that on the Parkinson Foundation website also.
Yeah, and they have some of the paper information here you can just download to print, or you can actually order the whole kit. Yeah, I was going to say the fact sheet for nurses talks about clinical care considerations and medications. There are some medications that are contraindicated or not good for people with Parkinson's because they can affect the dopamine system. And so, you know, you could have a medication prescribed, whether it's outpatient or in a hospital, that really makes you feel a lot worse. And that can be really scary. And so this really helps. So I would even recommend this fact sheet is one, there's a whole bunch of copies here. You can rip it off in any doctor's office that you go to, even it doesn't have to be a hospitalization, but your primary care doctor. And if you see a cardiologist or any other specialist, giving them a copy of this will help, you know, educate the community and your healthcare professionals so that they can best treat you. And you likely will be helping other people get better care as well, which is pretty nice to hear. But there's, you know, some specific medications, pain medications, anesthesia, anti-nausea medications that are really relevant for Parkinson's because they impact the dopamine system. So this fact sheet, I think, is really a great one to, you know, spread around. And so it's not just hospitalizations, but especially when it comes to a planned or unplanned hospitalization, can make sure that you get much better care, have a much better experience if you do have to have any procedures done.
Another resource that's good to know about is the Parkinson's Wellness Fund. What the Parkinson's Wellness Fund does is it helps people with Parkinson's pay out-of-pocket Parkinson's related expenses. So they give small grants to families. It might cover a wheelchair or 3 months of boxing or fitness classes, or a visit with a specialist that you couldn't afford. Typically, insurance doesn't cover something like acupuncture, and that might be something that you want to try. So the Parkinson's Wellness Fund is a great organization, and they make the process very simple to apply, and it's something that you might need. So it's good to be aware of that one.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of theirs. And again, they provide grants for people to access our classes and some of the programs we do. So that's really wonderful. So both applying, and they fund people, even though they're based in Southern California, they fund people and programs all across the country. I don't know if they do anything international, but I know all across the country they do. So even if you're in a different area, this is a resource for you. And on the flip side of things, if you are ever looking for, the organizations that you might want to donate to, they are a nonprofit 501c3. So if you want to make a donation, again, to help others, that's something really nice. And this is a great organization to support. So I just want to share that as well.
Their whole thing is about living well today with Parkinson's. So it's a great organization.
And supporting individuals, because that is, there are multiple organizations out there. The Michael J. Fox Foundation is wonderful, and they're really working on finding the cure. So that's one kind of very important goal. And then an organization like Parkinson Wellness Fund is saying, okay, there are people living with Parkinson's now who don't necessarily have the financial resources to access the treatments and resources that they need to live their best life. And so they're really helping at the individual level. And I would say kind of Davis Finney Foundation and Parkinson's Foundation are kind of in between. They do some work towards, funding towards research, some towards helping programs or individuals. So that's where kind of knowing what resources you need or what nonprofits you might want to donate to. It's good to know kind of what the different ones are out there and kind of what the different focus is. But yeah, Parkinson Wellness Fund is unique in kind of their approach and what they're able to do for people.
Mm-hmm. Another new resource, very new, is Metaflix.tv. And it's only been out for about 6 weeks now. It's a free streaming service. And their first topic that they took on was Parkinson's, and they've done a really excellent job, especially for people that are newly diagnosed. They have a couple of patient stories that are great to listen to, but then also stick around for the talk from the doctors afterward. They give you a lot of information that's very proactive and positive about living well today with Parkinson's and what you can do to fight back. They also have some shorts and movies on there that they get the license rights to that have to do with the condition. And they're going to be adding a lot more content in the future. Like I said, it's brand new, but I thought they did a really excellent job and had some great information. And if you watch these before you attend the class on the 17th, the virtual class, it might give you some questions that you might want to ask Dr. Bixby.
All right, wonderful. I can't wait to watch.
Yeah, it's good stuff. The last thing I have, Claire, is just PD Buzz, which is my website. It's got a newly diagnosed page, and on the newly diagnosed page, you've got a lot of information that Claire and I spoke about. It's got links to most of the resources we talked about, but there's more than that. There's also information about PD school, Lori Mish's PD school, some other books that you might be interested in. Where do I get started with exercise? That'll link you to one of Claire's videos, some peer support programs, just so you can talk to someone else who has Parkinson's. For me, that was so important when I got diagnosed. You're not alone. There's other people out there, and we can get you hooked up with somebody to talk to. So.
All right. Yeah, so much good information here. Okay. So yeah, that was our goal, was to come on, and I don't know exactly how long it's been, but not come on for too long. We don't want to overwhelm anyone with information, but we do want to share some of these resources that will be so helpful to you. And we wanted to share this ahead of time to give you a little bit of a head start. And I do think, like you were saying, if you look at some of these resources and read ahead of time, then you'll come, even more prepared for our live meeting on the 17th to really get the most out of it. So I think that is all we had planned for today, Lauren. Is there anything else you want to share before we wrap up this first pre-Jumpstart meeting?
I think that's it. I just hope everybody joins us on the 17th. It's going to be a really a good afternoon.
Yes. So yeah, if you haven't already, we'll also make sure the link is below so that you're on the email list to get the information. The meeting will be held on Zoom. It will be about 3 hours long with lots of great information, exercise demos, a movement disorders neurologist, information about resources here in Orange County and the types of resources that are available in other areas as well. So we're really excited, and you have the opportunity to ask questions and interact with other people. So the first one we did in December was a great experience, and we're really looking forward to doing it again, making it even better than it was the first time, and having even more people attend live. It was really fun, and I think it is like the kind of meeting that everybody needs right at the beginning.
I agree.
Very accessible right from your home. You don't have to go anywhere. So yeah, let us know if you have any questions. I'll also put I'll put up both of our email addresses probably below
Okay.
too, Lauren. So if you have any questions before that meeting, feel free to send us an email, and we hope to see you there.
Bye.
Oops, I don't actually want to, almost ended the